welcome to the next video of my build series on the Tamiya Dark Impact on the DF03 chassis.
In the last one we left off after finishing off the rear suspension and then attaching the gearbox to the chassis itself. So we'll start this one off and hopefully get the front differential and gearbox built up and installed. So we're starting off on step 14, which is the front differential gear assembly. And for this we're going to need quite a few bits. So we start off with one off of MB7 2mm lock nut, two off of MR1 1510 bearings, one off of MR5 620 bull thrust bearing, two off of MR6 850 bearings, one off of MJ1 the diff joint front left, and one off of MJ2 which is the diff joint front right, and then two off of MK4 10 by 0.1mm shims. And then in the diagram itself we need one off of MA7 2 by 25mm cap screw, 10 off of MK7 3mm bull bearings, and one off of MK9 which is the thrust spring. And then we also need three off of MK10 which are the diff sponges. And then, not forgetting the most important thing, one off of MH4, the bevel diff gear, and also some bull diff grease. So I think I might zoom in a bit for this bit for you, and we'll get started. The first stage of this step is really to install the bull bearings into the bull diff, and for that you need the bull diff grease, which I've already done. And as I hope you can see here, I've already started by placing some of the bull bearings in, and as with the rear diff, it's just a case of, if you've got it, using a magnetic screwdriver or tool of some description and placing them in where the grease is. And then I generally use the handle and I just pop them in like so, and then I can just run round with my finger, making sure all the bearings have some bull grease on, like that, and we can then carry on. In fact, I think I might leave my plastic there for a bit. So we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. Yes, I forgot to mention we also need two off of MK6 which aren't in the list itself. So we'll get one of these, and differently from the rear diff, you don't have to glue these in because they mate straight onto the metal, I am assuming anyway. And then we need one of the 850 bearings to go over the top, and then checking the orientation, we can pop the bevel gear through, another bearing, and then, whoops, nearly forgot that bit, the second MK6, and during, oh, it's fell off. that's the first stage. And the second stage is getting your MA7 and your thrust bearing. Do they call it a thrust bearing? Yeah. And popping that over. And then it's telling you to grease that up, so I think I've got some of this ball diff grease left, so I think I'll use that. And then I'm going to try and squidge it in to hopefully get the grease all the way in. I've just noticed that I missed this part here, D5, so I think I'll prep that as well. So you need your MB7 and you need to try and get it in, which is easier said than done. As per usual, especially when I'm on camera. I'm sorry I keep mentioning this, but I don't know what it is. There we go. You see? Right. So, we come back to MA7 and we push that through and get my Allen key thingy doobly over like so. Then we need MK9, which is the spring, to go over like that, and then the D5 with the MB7 nut in it to slide down, and hopefully that will engage. There we go. My nut wasn't all the way in for half an hour. I think that should do us. So we can move on to the final stage, and again there's a note at the bottom about cutting one of these Diff sponges in half, which I've already done, so we just need to pop those in, I think, first, because I don't think they'll come out. And again we've got the half one in the bottom or left hand output shaft, and then a full one, and then just one single full one in the right side, and then we can swiftly move on and take one of the MK4 0.1mm shims, pop it over and pop on a bearing, and repeat for the other side. And there we have one front differential gear assembly made up, and we can move on to step 15. Step 15 is the front gearbox assembly, which also includes making up the front prop shaft output. And for this we're going to need parts A2 and A5 along with D3, and then the metal parts we're going to need 3 off of MA2 3x10mm engineering screws, 3 off of MB1s 3x10mm tapping screws, one off of MB4, which is 2.6 by 10mm screw pin, one off of MB6, which is a 4mm E-clip, and then coming down here, one off of MK5, which is a 5 by 0.1mm shim, and one off of MR8 630 bearing, one off of MC7 2 by 10mm shaft, and two off of MR3 1050 bearings, and MK2 the bevel shaft. And I think that's about it, but again, this is quite cramped, so apologies if I've missed anything. I'll let you know when I find them. So we'll start off and we'll make up the bevel shaft, I think. So we'll take D3 and slip it over. Quite a tight fit, and we can take MB4, and I'm assuming it doesn't matter which way round this goes in, just slides through, and then is it this one? Yeah, this will do, and we just screw that in. Yeah, that looks about right. And then we need the two MR3s sliding over, then a shim, and then the E-clip. And we need the MC7 bar and MH1 the bevel gear, which I did forget to tell you about. And that's that built up. We can then take part A2 and we can sort of start installing it. However, if you can see here, rather than the anti-wear grease, I've put quite a big splodge of ordinary high temperature grease on this, because when I test fitted it to part A5, there looked to be quite big gaps. So I thought I'll put this thick grease on instead to hopefully keep the dust out. And I'll just do this temporarily. We put the ball diff in like so, and then we get MR8, which is the 630 bearing, pop it on the end of the bevel gear shaft, and then you just have to jimmy the bearings in like that. There we go. And then, as per usual, we need to grease that. This will then go over like so, and we need the following screws into the particular holes. So in these two holes here we need MA2s, which are the engineering screws, and in I think that one and these two we need the MA3, MB1s even, which are the tapping screws, and then finally in that position there another MA2. So I'll get cracking with that. And the final step for this episode, step 16, is attaching the front damper stay to the gearbox. And for this we're going to need this part here, B2, and then lots of lovely brass and metal parts. We need 2 off of MA2 3x10mm screws, 4 off of MB1 3x10mm tapping screws, 2 off of MD5, the lovely 5mm ball connector nuts, and 2 off of MD6, the 5mm ball connectors. And again, we can simply start by checking the orientation, and looking at this, it looks like the ball nut goes in the centre bottom hole. Whoops. And it simply screws on, and then looking at this, the ball connectors actually screw into the middle hole. Facing the opposite way. And then once you've done that, we can get the front gearbox, and it goes over the top there. Whoops, doesn't clip into place though. And we need 4 screws. And there we have one front diff all ready to go onto the chassis. And with that, we'll end this here, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this, and I hope you can join me on the next one, which I think is going to be part of the steering and probably even mounting this little beast. So thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.